Hi guys, I'm so sorry. I had some connection issues and so Zoom shut down basically. So we're gonna continue where we stopped. I was saying that this function might return a string or it might not return anything. So we're gonna store whatever it returns in a variable called guardrails reply. And so this variable might contain a string and it might not contain anything. So if there is a reply, it means that there is an issue, there's a warning, because in what case does the reply occur? The reply occurs when none of the keywords are found. So if there is a reply, it means that عنا an issue, and so we're gonna send the warning to the user. So sorry, we're gonna print a chatbot, and then we're going to send the reply, guard rails underscore reply. Okay? And then we're gonna continue. What we mean by continue is we're gonna يعني skip everything or in this loop and jump to the next iteration. So what we're gonna do is we're going to skip everything remaining in the loop and we're gonna step into the next iteration, which is step into the while loop again from scratch. So this continue here is used to skip the API call basically. So in case there is a guardrail reply, so in case this is returned, it means that the question is not appropriate. So we're going to print this message, the fact that the question isn't appropriate. We're going to skip the rest of the loop. How do we skip the rest of the loop? By using continue. Why do we skip the rest of the loop? So that we don't perform an API call. And we're going to move to the next iteration of the while loop. Okay? Um, So after checking that our message or the user's question is appropriate, we want to build the message that will be sent to our to the AI, basically, to the model. So as we said, what was my problem at first? It was this message. So it was this sentence in particular. So I'm gonna build a new message object. Mm, هون. Message. And it has the same structure as this message object. So it starts with role, and then the role is system. Again, we explained why in the last recording. And then content, and here the content will simply be the system prompt variable that we defined above. Okay, that's it, basically. So here we're beginning to build the full message list that will be sent to the model later on. So we're going to start with the system message, the one telling the bot how it should behave, basically. So role system, as like we saw in the previous session, it basically tells the bot how, or the model, how it should behave. And the content is the system prompt variable that we wrote or that we defined above. So it's the prompt we wrote earlier that describes the model's role, behavior, tone, the rules, etc. And so the model will treat system messages as the messages with the highest priority. So the first thing that the model will read when we run the code is this system prompt sentence. So it will know exactly how to behave, the tone to have, etc. Um, a reminder for those who forgot, a system message is just, it sets the assistant's behavior at the start of every conversation, basically. Okay, so here what we're doing is we're building this messages variable that we're gonna send afterwards. Um, sorry, that we're gonna send afterwards in the API. So I'm gonna delete this one. Actually, let's keep it for now. No, I'm gonna delete it. We don't need it. Okay, so here I'm gonna build the messages list again. So as we said, it's a list of message objects. So each message object is a dictionary, like we explained last time, with a role and content. So we started with the first one, which is the system prompt. And now we're gonna add the other context frameworks uh, that we defined, which are the memory and the history. So how do we do that? First of all, we check if there is a memory. So if the memory is defined or not. If it is defined, then we're gonna build a memory text. So basically, we just say this is the conversation memory, and um, okay, um, okay. Then dot join memory. So basically, what we did here, the memory here that I'm referring to is this list right here, where I'm explaining what are the user's preferences, etc. So here what I'm doing is simply I'm sending to the model, this is the conversation memory that I have. So this is just a string that explains that what I'm sending here is the conversation memory. And after building this variable, this message text thing, I'm gonna append it to messages. So I'm gonna append. So I want to append to this variable, to this list, this mem text, but this has to be a message object. So it's gonna be a dictionary. The role will also be system because it's also related to how the bot should behave. And the content, sorry, and the content will be this mem text variable that we just defined. So if there is a memory, if there is an indication of how the user should behave, I'm gonna just explain, say conversation memory, two dots, and then just join this string with the memory. So I'm just gonna explain to the model, this is just some conversation memory, and then I'm gonna append it to my messages object, okay? And the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm also going to add to messages this history. So Lihan, what we're gonna write is messages dot append. It's also gonna be the role is also gonna be system because it's also related to how the bot will behave, and the content will be history, basically. Um, okay. So what you're doing here is we're adding to messages the rolling history, and this will keep the assistant aware of the most recent chats that occurred between the user and the chatbot. And this will allow the model to just have a certain aspect of continuity and to refer back to earlier questions, etc. Okay. So the last thing that we need to append to messages is basically the user's question. So messages dot append Role is gonna be user. One second. Okay. Role is gonna be user, and content is just gonna be the user's question, basically. Question. But we have to put it in a dictionary like this. Okay. Now the issue I have here is that history is a list. So instead of doing this, I'm just gonna do messages dot extend and then list history. So this just means that extend means that I'm going to use the same structure that I used above. So the role will also be system, and then the content will be each element in history. So I'm going to do a small recap of what we did here. Um, so I started by, I want to define the messages, which are a list of message objects. So the first one is just the system prompt. It's how the bot should behave, etc. Then I added the memory. Um, so some aspects of the user, etc. And I appended the two messages because it's also something that the model should take into consideration. And I also added the list of some history chats between the bot and the user so that the model is aware of the recent chats that occurred between the user and the chatbot to give the chat an aspect of continuity, basically. And then I added to messages the question that was asked by the user, basically. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna define data the same way we defined it before. So the model is still the same. The messages, one second, okay. Messages, there, this messages of variable that we defined above. So this is the messages that we're gonna send. And yeah. Headers, it's still the same, nothing changes, and the response, it also stays the same, basically. Now, one thing that we're gonna modify here, okay, we are getting the whole JSON output and we're transforming it into a readable response, a response that's readable by the user. Then we're selecting the first element of the message's content and choices and returning it. So instead of doing this here, I'm going to do it above instead. So here I only have to print the output. Now, why am I doing this? Because later on, we said that we're saving in the history variable. Why, here we're saving the last chats that happened between the bot and the user. So after printing the output, I'm going to save them in my history. So I'm going to do history dot append. Kamena, it's going to be a message object. So role user, and then we have con content is going to be the question that was asked by the user. And then we're also going to append to history the answer that was given by the chatbot. So history dot append. So here the role is assistant. It's not system anymore because assistant means it's the chatbot that was giving the answer, basically. بينما system, it's the model. It's the thing that is generating the answer. Assistant is just the chatbot that prints the answer to me. So the role is assistant and the content is the output. So this is why this whole slicing that I did here, instead of keeping it in the print part, I directly applied it to the output thing and I directly modified the output variable so that I can directly put it here and add it to the history. So yeah, that's it basically. So now we're gonna resume what we're doing. We're gonna test our code and see if it's working. So I'm gonna start by running the code. I'm asked to enter my Mistral key. Okay. Now I'm gonna ask a question that's not related to culture. So, um, prove that not all Turing machines are recognizable. Okay. And as expected, it doesn't contain any of the culture keywords that I gave. So I get the automated response that I specified here. Now, if I ask, for example, what are some Lebanese traditions? Let's see what we get in this case. Okay. Um, okay, so when I asked this question, I did receive a normal answer. So, like I said, the answer, the output format is the same as we defined here. So, one, we get a straightforward answer. My bad. Okay. One, we get an answer. Two, we get some bullet points. And three, a question, a follow-up question in case the user wants to answer it. So now our chatbot is behaving as we want to. There are no bugs. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you all for attending. I hope you um, enjoyed this session. I hope that you understood what we went through. And yeah, that's basically it.